Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fan Sports New York Varsity. I'm your host, Frank Langella, joined by my co-host, Marsilio Langella. And Mars, this is our Week 7 preview for Section 1A. This is the last regular season week for 1A. And we're reaching the playoff time, and teams are battling out. There has been teams that have clinched playoff spots, but we're trying to figure out where they are in the standings, and both wild cards have not been clinched. So this is going to be really interesting to find out who makes it in the end. And for the teams that haven't, this is a good opportunity. Again, the seniors playing their last round. You want to play hard. Could be the last time you play football. And young guys trying to make a statement as the season goes along, and probably some young guys who are getting more opportunities, Mars.
Yeah, I feel like when you're getting closer and closer to playoff football, it just gets more exciting. And, they're going to have some key matchups here that are going to either change the standings or really just kind of declare which teams will make it or not. And I feel like that's going to be really fun just to watch. And I'm just glad to see that we have playoff football back in town. Yeah,
and I want to welcome all our fans. Appreciate you guys for tuning in each week. Again, if you don't follow us, which I can't believe you haven't by now, make sure you follow our social medias on the screen. We talk about Section 1 football and try to bring a unique flavor to coverage of Section 1 football, analyzing X's and O's, bringing it to you, trying to teach you guys something and recognize the kids. And that's kind of our goal. But again, if you're watching this on YouTube, which is the only way to watch it at this point, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you give a like to the video. And you can all get our content on our website at fansportsny.com, where you can also make donations. And all donations go back to the show. Appreciate any donations and buy merchandise. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the games on slate. We'll go over the two leagues and the playoff standings. We'll go over a couple games and give our game picks. So let's dive into it. Brewster 4-2 at John Jay Cross River, who's 4-2. Somers 6-0 at Lakeland, who's 1-5. Lords 3-4 at Yorktown, who's 2-4. Walter Panis 0-6 at Mahopac, who's 4-2. Nyack 0-6 at Tappan Zee, who's 0-6. Pelham 6-0 at Rye, who's 7-0. Harrison 3-3 at Eastchester, who's 3-3, and Clarkstown North 4-2 at Sleepy Hollow, that is 2-4. When I look at the two leagues, Mars, let's start with the North League. Somers is 6-0. They sit up on top. They have clinched the league and clinched the number one seed last week. So that they're already in. They're trying to go 7-0 and have a perfect regular season. John Jay is sitting at number 2. They are 4-2 and 4-2 in league play. They have clinched a playoff spot, but they have not clinched the second spot. Mahopac at 4-2 and 4-2. They would need to. I think they have clinched a playoff spot. I think even with a loss, they would at least get the wild card with a loss and Brewster win. But Brewster is sitting at the 4th spot. And they're playing John Jay Cross River, and they have an opportunity to also clinch a playoff spot with a victory and probably get into the top 3 automatic bid with a victory. Then you have Lords at 5, Yorktown at 6, Lakeland at 7, and Panis at 8. They have all been. I think Lords has the only outside chance of getting in. They do have an outside chance. They need to win this week. But Yorktown, Lakeland, and Panis are all been gone. John Jay Cross River, if they win, Mars, they'll clinch the number 2 spot. So a victory will clinch the number 2 spot for them. Brewster would a win, and a Mahopac win. Mahopac would get the number 2 spot. Brewster would get the 3 spot, and I think John Jay Cross River, that would be actually. So I don't think they did clinch a playoff, because in that scenario and Lords wins, Lords has the head-to-head tiebreaker over them. So that would be really interesting on that one. And again, when you go to the wild card, this is why getting the top 3 is big. Top 3 is automatic bid, because in the wild card, it's based on residual points. And what residual points is, they combine points on victories that you had in league, losses in league, and then you add residual points to quality points. So again, it's a lot of mathematical equations, and you don't want to be in that scenario. But it's just who you played, who you beat, who you lost to, if you really want a generic thing. When I look at the South League, Mars, Rye is 7-0. They're 6-0 in league play. They have clinched the playoff berth. Pelham is 6-0 and 6-0 in league play. They have also clinched the playoff berth. But we don't know who the winner is for the South League yet. We're going to find out this week. Clarkstown North is at the 3 spot. They are 4-2. They have clinched the number 3 spot. So they have clinched themselves into the automatic bid. And again, all of my assertions are my predictions based on the league standings and the numbers I've done. This is not Section 1 giving me this info. In the 4th spot is Harrison at 3-3. Eastchester is also at the 5th spot at 3-3, followed by Sleepy Hollow, Nyack, and Tappan Zee. And Eastchester and Harrison, to be, are the 2 legitimate teams to battle for the second wildcard spot. So, yeah, those are the kind of things. We'll go over the games. And, again, how the playoffs work in A, Mars. The number 1 seed in the North versus the second wildcard spot. The number 1 seed in the South versus the other wildcard spot. And then number 2 in the North versus 3 in the South. and number 3 in the North versus 2 in the South, and that's going to happen next week. But let's go over a couple of the games. First one, Clarkstown North 4-2 at Sleepy Hollow, who's 2-4. League South matchup. Clarkstown North has clinched the number 3 spot last week. Sleepy Hollow has been eliminated, but this is, to me, a team that has been improving. And Clarkstown North, they have won 3 straight, looking to carry this momentum into the playoffs. Offensively, the 7th-ranked offense out of 16 teams in points scored. They've scored 28 plus the last 2 weeks. Again, you get the wing T looks, heavy looks. They're going to test the strength of Sleepy Hollow's front 7, and it all starts with that offensive line we talked about multiple times. But they really kind of developed a 3 amigos running back attack. Starts with Eric Gilzine. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Lopez had a rushing touchdowns. And Bolello, he had another 133 yards and a touchdown. He's kind of the big play guy. But I'm looking at the quarterback, Maliza. I think the last couple of weeks he's really made some smart decisions. He's done some nice play action. But the big thing is avoiding turnovers, which have been big and have helped this offense. And just stay patient with the run and be smart with those throws is going to be the big one. Defensively, this is the number 6 defense. Right? They've allowed 14 or less in 3 straight marks. They have not been giving up easy yards. They prevented big plays for the most part. Last week, they forced 2 turnovers, and they have to bracket Scaglione on Sleepy Hollow because that is the big play guy. He could be a game wrecker, and look for guys like Loudon and Meritato. Those guys in the secondary have made a bunch of plays. Loudon's like that strong safety. He almost acts like a linebacker. He could really hit you. And Meritato has had a bunch of INTs. Those are 2 guys to keep in mind for this defense. Sleepy Hollow, again, for the seniors, this is your last ride, and for the young players, you're going to want to continue to grow. Offensively, it's going to be tough running inside versus Clarkstown North. The offensive line definitely has been playing better, but I feel like they're going to have to try to get the ball in space to guys like Mike Scaglione. I want to continue to see the growth of the young quarterback in Mahood. And some guy to keep in mind, Lustiak, their tight end. He lines up as a wide receiver, lineup as tight end. He had a touchdown last week. He has been a real reliable target, especially in the play-action game. Defensively, I think the defense has been pretty solid too. They've allowed 20 points or less in 3 straight. And, with the front 7, they're going to have to play big. And I mentioned Lustiak, Delmonico, going to have to be big in this one versus that wing T offense, Mars. If a guy like Scaglione, who's a really good player at the safety spot, if he's leading the team in tackles in this game, I think Clarkstown North is going to be in pretty good favor because that means he's making tackles, 6 to 8 yards up the field. Mars, what do you want to talk about in this one?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting because of the fact that North needs to carry on this momentum into the playoffs. And when you look at Sleepy Hollow, they've been eliminated, but this is, like you said, this is going to be just a game really for the seniors to go out on a high note. For Clarkstown North, their offense has been solid. They're ranked 7, but in my opinion, I think the wing T is really going to depend on this offensive line, and really really going to be testing the strength of Sleepy Hollow and whether or not they can withstand this strength. These guys who can just move bodies up front, but they have a lot of guys on the skill position that can make big plays. But it's really going to depend on Maliza, the quarterback, to be efficient, and he has been, right. And you have to definitely praise him for that. It has been limited amount of turnovers, and as long as they can keep that going, I think this offense can move. Defensively, they've been impressive. They've been solid, and I think that it's going to really depend on their pass rush in this game because they're going to be testing you in the secondary. And I think that if you can cash in on some sacks, it'll definitely ease up some of the pressure that your secondary is going to have. Sleepy Hollow, the big question is going to be, in my opinion, can this defense stand up to this offensive line and this potent rush offense that the wing T always brings in? The offensive line is going to be very mobile. You're going to see a lot of pulls. Can your guys withstand that and keep everything bottled up? Shorten the pulls and try to make sure that you try to bottle up some of these lanes and allow your playmakers to obviously make some plays.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good question here.
Yeah, let's go to another big matchup. Harrison 3-3 at Eastchester, who's 3-3. This is a League South matchup, and I know, in my opinion, both these teams are battling for the second wildcard spot. At the end, I think the winner of this game will get that second wildcard spot when they add all the residual and quality points together. And since 2004, Harrison is 6-5 versus Eastchester. They have won 4 straight. But last week, Harrison lost versus Clarkstown North. Eastchester won versus Sleepy to keep their season alive. And let's start with Harrison, Mars. They have lost 3 straight. It has been a bit of a struggle, especially offensively, but they are 2-0 on the road. And offensively, they're still the number 6 unit out of 16 teams, but they have scored less than 20 points in 3 straight. And what's killed them over this time period, Mars, is the turnovers. Turnovers and losing early downs. And to me, in the option offense, that is absolute killers. And that's the things they have to change. And again, I like this offense. They play with good tempo. They hit you with a lot of different, whether it's veer concepts or some midline concepts based on how you line up. And I thought they were good in the first half last week, but those ugly turnovers and losing early downs came back to bite them. And I thought the offensive line has been pretty solid. Guys with like Haynes and Ranello, and the offense, just that offensive line as a whole has been really solid. But they're going to have to step up again this week. And I know the offense runs through Troilo. Had a touchdown last week. Has been solid all season. But to me, what was a good sign was the halfbacks got more involved, right? I don't know the name of the kid. Number 22, he had a touchdown last week. But the halfbacks were starting to make plays. And last week, Eastchester versus Sleepy and their double wing looks, they came out in a 4-4, right? So to me, they're trying to force you to throw the ball. I think that's what Eastchester is going to try to do, try to bottle up the inside runs. And so I think they're going to try to test the outside. And these halfbacks and quarterbacks are going to have to play big. And again, they still do the two-man rotation with Garcia and Citro. I thought Citro made some nice passes last week to McLaughlin. And I think McLaughlin's going to have some opportunities. I mean, this is one of the faster kids in the class. He's going to get some one-on-one opportunities, especially in those 4-4 looks. See if they can hit a couple big ones. I think it'll be there. Defensively, this is the number 7 defense. I thought the last 2 weeks, the unit has been really solid. Last week, they wore down in the second half. But they're going up against a team not as big up front as North. But this is an offensive line that has good size, and they can run the football. So, to me, it's, again, can they play with the physicality again? I thought they brought the physicality the last couple weeks. They're going to have to do it again. They're going to see a lot of power reads, some misdirection between the quarterback and tailback runs. But this offense, again, they're really going to test the tackling and the edge of this defense because they have a couple guys who can really hit the big plays on you. So I'm looking at their edge defenders like Karapitas, their outside linebackers, to play a big role. Eastchester has also been pretty solid in the quick passing game, but if you can get them behind the chains, get them in second and third and long, and all defenses want to do that, but again, if you can stop those power reads and zone reads, it's going to be big for them. Eastchester, when I look at them, again, they fought their way to that opportunity with a young team to get a shot at the wild card. This is big, and I think it's been really solid for them. They're 2-0 at home. Offensively, this is the number 9th offense. This group can run the ball. And last week, it was Gabriel Dia versus Herbert show, the quarterback. He had 200 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. He was also 7-13 passing. Dom Sparadino didn't have the most explosive game, right? He had 68 yards and a touchdown. But it was huge to have that quarterback back to be another guy who can hurt you. And when teams bail out to stop Sparadino, they need someone else to do that, and Herbert did that. But it all starts with running behind that offensive line led by Chris Howard. But I also really been impressed with this quick passing game, right? They throw to guys like Provenzale, who had 50 yards last week, has been a reliable target. They're going to have to use that quick passing game because Harrison has the edge rushers and the defensive line to get after the quarterback. So those long, deep routes might not be there unless you're rolling out. But I'm expecting to see those, a lot of quarterback runs, a lot of runs with Sparadino, and the quick passing game. Defensively, this is where the concerns are, right? They're tied for 12th out of 16. Last week, I thought they were solid going up against the double wing. They came out in a 4-4, brought a bunch of guys into the box, and I think they're going to try to line up defenders in the B, C, and D gaps and force Harrison to run a lot of midline stuff. So to me, they want to try to prevent the veer stuff. So I think they have to win early downs, Mars. We talk about it. Harrison has shown to turn the ball over. Prezioso had an INT last week, so let's see if he's just can capitalize on a turnover, Mars. What do you want to talk about this week?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be an interesting game. And when you look at Harrison, they struggled because of the fact that they've lost a few in a row, and I feel like they're, even with that being said, I feel like they've just been too inefficient on the offense to really establish any sort of momentum, right? I feel like that's been the killer for them, and I think they need to win the early downs, and I think their offensive line needs to really step up big time. And I think that it's not even just them. I think it has to be another skill guy needs to really make a play. I feel like you're depending too much on Troilo. You really need to expand on who can make the play and really keep this defense guessing who's going to show up. Defensively, they've been solid, and I think that they have to continue this trend going forward because it's going to be tough. They're going to start throwing, like you mentioned, power reads and zone reads. I mean, I feel like you have to just follow your key.
Yes.
Right? Follow your key, and I think you're going to be okay. From Eastchester's point of view, the rush offense has been very good, but it's really going to depend on this offensive line going against a pretty solid front. So I think if you can really open up the lanes, your skill players can make the play in open space. Defensively, it's got to win the early downs. Like it's like you're trying to stop them from getting those third and shorts, right?
Yep, and getting into up tempo.
Exactly, and if you can really win that early down, force them into a third and long, like a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, you're really going to have a good situation where it's going to be a struggle for Harrison to really make a big play. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, let's go to another really, really big matchup here. Brewster 4-2 at John Jay Cross River, who's 4-2. This is a League North matchup. John Jay Cross River wins, Mars. a win would clinch the number 2 spot for John Jay. A Brewster win and a Mahopac win will clinch them the 3 spot. So really, a really big. I think Brewster, even with a loss, can still get in as a wild card. So it's not do or die, in my opinion. I think residual points wise, and because Brewster beat Lords, I think they have the upper hand in the wild card spot. But let's start with Brewster. A win would definitely change things. Brewster's 2-0 on the road offensively. I thought they showed some decent balance last week. Outside of the turnovers, which really killed a bunch of drives, running the ball and passing. Offensive line, I know they've been beat up, but they are going to be playing a bit of an undersized front with John Jay Cross River. I think pass protection is going to be huge in this one. Quarterback Chris Donahue, he had 2 touchdowns last week. I think the quick passing game can act as an extension of the running game and take some calculated deep shots. This Cross River secondary has some speed, so it won't be so easy throwing it deep, but you want to try to bait them with the quick throws, and then when they get suckered in, to try to hit the deep one. But to me, I think all of this can be a lot easier if they can establish a power running game, right? Because John Jay Cross River struggled to stop the run last week. Test to see if you have the strength to run, and so I'm looking at guys like Will Martinez, their other quarterback Perello when he comes in. You'll see more quarterback runs with him. And Anfuso, who has stepped up lately. So those are going to be big ones. Can they establish the power running game? Defensively, listen, they stepped up and limited big plays in the passing game last week, and they'll need to do the same this week. John Jay Cross River struggled with pass protection. Brewster's going to bring some linebacker stunts to try to create pressure and try to force some mistakes. I'm expecting that. When I go to John Jay Cross River, Mars, last week, they got their doors blown off, right? But those are the kind of games, and Mars, we've unfortunately been in and coached in beatdowns. And the best thing to do is to watch it, learn it, and then burn it, right? Get that game out of your mind. Get that film out of your mind after you watched it. And to be honest, I think I don't like calling Lohud out. I think Lohud does a solid job. But I feel like I do got to call out Lohud a little bit because I think John Jay is getting a little disrespected. And they lost to Somers, and so Lohud put him out of the top 10 this week. And they ranked him number 4 in A behind Mahopac, a team they beat. Right, so John Jay Cross River is not getting much respect after getting beat by Somers, which, by the way, Somers has been beating the brakes off of everybody recently. But let's just move on that one. Offensively, I'm just going to say this. If I'm a Cross River guy, I'd be pretty motivated this week, right, to turn things around. Offensively, it was a real struggle. It was real ugly. They had 1 first down in the first half last week. Nobody really played well. I mean, let's just call it. There's not a finger you can point at. It was a group effort with the poor play. The offensive line, they're a scrappy unit. They're not a big unit. They're a scrap unit. They got to have to step up. They gave a lot of pressure, especially internally, and they got to do a much better job and try to open up some lanes. And to me, they're not going to blow people off the ball, but create those teams, get a body on a body, and maintain those blocks is going to be big. This offensive line's got to step up. And their quarterback, Galea, it was a struggle last week. They couldn't get any consistency going. There were some missed throws there. But I'm looking at these skill guys. And when things are struggling, you need your skill guys to win one-on-one plays. And when they get the ball in their hands, to make some people miss. And they didn't do that last week. So I look at guys like Palladino, DiChiara, Zaccanino to step up this week and make a couple big plays. Even if things are looking a little bit ugly, things are not looking efficient, make a big play for your offensive line, make a big play for your quarterback. And I think, they're going to try to spread Brewster out and try to find those one-on-one matches. It's going to be a big one on offensively. Defensively, they were put in a tough spot last week, this defense. I know they didn't play that great, but when the other team is starting on your side of the field over and over and over again, and the offense can't stay on the field at all, it does wear down on your defense. So that's tough, but they definitely have to tackle better. I think John Jay Cross River is going to bring some pressure. They don't want to let the Brewster quarterback sit in the pocket, but I think Bruce is going to try to test to see if they can run with some power. So they're going to test the physicality of John Jay, and I think they're going to have to step up, Mars. What do you want to talk about on this one?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting one. I feel like when you look at Cross River, this is definitely a game to really keep them in the playoffs, right? Is obviously because then all of a sudden if they lose and like you said, Lords wins, then all of a sudden now the question is going to be are they out? Right?
You win, you're in.
Yeah, and if you win, not only you win, but you're the second ranked team,
yes.
Right? And I think that's the big thing, right? And because once you start dropping down, then you're going to have to start playing against some really tough opponents, and you're losing your home field advantage.
Exactly.
Right? Or you just might be out of the playoffs, right? It's really for Cross River. I treat it almost like a do or die moment, right? Granted, because it's not automatic that you're out of the playoffs, but you don't even want to leave it to chance, right? You want to win the game and establish yourself. And like you said, Brewster's in. It's just depending on.
Well, no, it's not officially in.
Yeah, I guess it's just
because
more about.
I think they have the upper leverage when it comes to wild card.
Yeah, so it's really going to be about for them to keep standings, right?
A win is an automatic in.
Yeah, make sure you're in. So it's going to be a big game for them as well. So when you look at Brewster, I feel like they've had some struggles, especially with the turnovers, and I feel like Donahue has been solid, but I think you got to build momentum, right? You don't want to go with the big shot over any throw right now. You want to go small, go quick, establish some rhythm, allow Donahue to get warmed up, and then you can start hitting with big shots. And I feel like when you look at Cross River, they struggled against the power run. So maybe try to establish that first to see, maybe get some momentum on your offense as a whole offensive line to get in the groove before you start doing those deep passes. And defensively, I mean, you got to try to send the heat. There's a smaller offensive line. Try to bring the pressure, send a lot of blitzes, and see whether or not they can block that. And for Cross River, it was a very interesting sight to see. All right, I did not expect that to happen last week, the way Somers had beat them. But I agree with you. I think that a lot of people are looking down on John Jay Cross River, and I'm kind of surprised at how quickly they went from being wow, this team is nasty to wow, this team is horrible in 1 week span.
I didn't say horrible, but
no, but just the point where people,
disrespectful.
Yeah, like it baffled me, to be honest with you, because Somers is a top-notch team, and Cross River is still ranked number 2. Everybody, like at the end of the day, it's not like they dropped down off the face of the earth. The question is going to be whether or not John Jay can bounce back, right? I mean, and we've seen this, and like you said, teams don't play that bad 2 weeks in a row, right? And I think they're going to have good teams don't, and I think they're going to have that very interesting locker room, and that vibe in that locker room is definitely going to be a little interesting. And the question is going to be for me is going to be that, can Cross River offensive line wise step up, right? And I think that they have to really be the group that really shines this week. I think they have to be the most efficient unit on the field and really allow for their skill players to make the plays. I think at the end of the day, you have the speed, right? You have the ability to win in the open field, but can you really open up some spots for your key players? And from the defensive point of view, you got to be able to bring the pressure. I mean, I think Somers kind of showed some of the weaknesses that you do have, right? And they capitalized it. And at the end of the day, your field position was not really going in your favor on the defensive side. So, can you fix those things? Can you get better field position? Can you keep your offense on the field a little bit longer? All these things are going to add up to a more efficient win. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see if John Jay can bounce back.
Let's go to another game. Somers 6-0 at Lakeland, who's 1-5. And again, the playoff implications are not there. Somers has already clinched the league and the number 1 spot. But they want to go 7-0 to go perfect in the league. And Lakeland is an opportunity for some of those young guys and for the seniors to play out their final games and for young guys to step up. And when I look at it historically, Somers is 7-0 versus Lakeland since 2004. Last week, Somers won versus John Jay. Lakeland lost at Brewster. And let's just start with Somers, Mars. I know before the season there was discussions about, the famous long-term coach is leaving the program. Is Somers going to be the same? Right? And listen, I don't know how the season's going to end, but I think Somers has answered that call as that, this is a program that has now built itself to be efficient and sufficient. And I don't know if they're going to dominate for the next 10 years, but what I do know is I find it hard to believe that they're going to fall off the planet of the earth over the long haul. And this is a big credit to the kids in the program, to the youth program, to the longtime coaching staff that has been there and stayed there, that has helped build this thing for the long haul, right? This program has proven they are not a one-man job. And so big kudos to Somers, and I want to give that and throw that out there and destroy that narrative that is kind of, before the season started. I think they've proven this year that it's not. Again, starting 6-0, it's been the first time that they've done that in a long time. Offensively, Mars is the number 1 offense in points scored. They've scored 30-plus points in 5 straight Last week they had 392 yards in the first half. And they're playing just good complementary football right now. This offensive line deserves a lot of the credit, I have to tell you. And again, I liked a lot of the skill guys, but you can't have this balanced attack without good offensive line play, and that's exactly what Somers is doing. They're giving you good offensive line play that is allowing them. And I look at their quarterback, Fitzsimons. He only threw 4 passes, Morris, but he was 3 of 4, 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown. He's had 11 touchdowns over the last 4 games. This has been a young man who is starting really to get it and understand it. And from week 1 to now, he is a completely different player. He's become a dominant player, and they're going to need him to continue to do that if they want to win a championship, which is the goal. But there have been other guys. I mean, there have been a bunch of guys who have stepped up. Last week, a guy like Matt Kapika really did. 119 total yards, 2 touchdowns. But they have other guys, Olifers, Mancuso, who to me, Mancuso is their most steady presence on the offensive side of the ball. He's been a stud. Also, their kicker, Savino, who makes plays offensively. He's not just a kicker. To me, Lakeland has some, Lakeland has an interesting defense. I thought the defense has been playing a little bit better, especially the last couple of weeks. One defensive end in Hickey, who's a big, strong kid, right? Not the fastest guy. The other DN in Mendel's a long guy. I feel like they got to target these edge guys, whether it's running around them or running underneath them. The taller, longer guy probably run underneath them, and for Hickey, you probably want to try to run outside him because he's hard to move. And so I think they're going to try to be calculating on where they run the ball, and they're going to use some of that play action in this passing game because I don't think there's many secondaries that can stay with these receivers, right? So they're going to definitely use the passing game, but running the ball, I think they got to be again, they can probably block anybody, but I think they're going to be a little calculated running the football this week. Defensively, they also have the number 1 defense, Mars. They have playmakers at each level. We talked about it multiple times. Really like the linebackers and guys like Kennedy and Krause, but this defensive line really allows things to move, right? They're really disruptive. Multiple guys can get to the quarterback. Lakeland likes to, again, put the ball in the quarterback's hands, whether it's a quick passes, rollouts. So this defensive line, if they can get pressure, and these DBs can be aggressive on some of these short routes, I think they're going to force some turnovers. To me, Lakeland's going to really struggle running the football in this one, and they're going to have to turn to passing probably early, and this defensive line is going to go hunting. So when I look at Lakeland, last week, they could not really finish drives, and that's really what hurt them. Offensive line, the big question is, can they hold up versus this front? I mean, if you can't convert third downs against Somers, you're probably going to get the doors blown off on you. So you have to have some drives, even if it's just to move field position. So when I look at their quarterback, Steven DeVukaj, he was 7 of 14 last week, 71 yards. I thought the Lakeland tried to move to the running game a little bit last week and try to create a little more balance. Tyler Ronke had 40 yards. They're going to have some balance if they're going to try to compete versus Somers. Defensively, I thought last week they played solid, Mars. They gave up some drives, but they forced 3 turnovers and kept them out of the end zone for the most part. Hickey had a sack last week. He's been solid since coming back. To me, can you just take away one thing? You're not going to stop everything Somers does, but can you take away one thing? Is it the passing game? Is it the running game? I would try to take away the passing game because those are some big play guys. But you got to take away one thing, Mars. What do you want to talk about on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I feel like when you look at the Somers program, they've really established themselves as being a well-oiled machine, and I feel like that. I don't know if that stat is still true to this day. About every team in the Somers program was like undefeated from what was it, the third
from the youth
up, all the way to varsity, and I don't know if that's still true, but I mean that just kind of shows you that this program has really established themselves as being just stable, right? It's always constantly moving, and there's always a funneling of great talent throughout the program. You definitely have to give them a lot of kudos for that, right?
Losing a long-time coach hurts,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
But
I agree with you that narrative, right? Yeah. That they were this team's going to be bad now, right?
It wasn't they assumed it, but they're can
they handle? Can they still be a team, a competitive team? And I mean, watching them this year, they clearly are. And when you look at this offense. This offense in general has just been getting better, right? Yeah. I mean, from week 1, you saw that they can run the ball, right?
They had a lot of rustiness.
They had some struggles, but the pass offense has been just growing and growing since week 1, and I feel like that is what makes them the most dangerous team in Section 1A, because of the fact that they're now multi-dimensional. They can do multiple things really well, and then on top of that, they just have a knockout defense. Like, this defense has been very efficient. They have one of those defenses where they can hit you from many different spots, but the defensive line has been super impressive, and they just cause mayhem, and I feel like that's like the big thing about them. For Lakeland, it's gonna be
it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be a tough one, and I think the biggest thing is that you have to try to have these longer drives, right? Try to extend the drive longer so that you have your guys can have a better chance of scoring, but keep your defense off the field, right? That's the most important thing, because keeping your defense on the field constantly, they're gonna get worn out quickly, right? And I feel like you saw that with John Jay Cross River.
Yep.
And when you look at defensively, I agree with you. Try to slow down one aspect of their offense. I mean, I think it'll be a little bit easier to stop the passing, right? Because it's just been getting better as time progresses. The run has been very good. So take away the passing, and let's see, if you can roll with the punches. I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, Somers is the top team right now, and I think that their offensive line has been competing, in my opinion, as the best offensive line with Carmel. So I'm wondering to see, by the end of the year, which one will reach my list of the top offensive line. So it should be interesting.
Let's go to the game of the week. And Pelham 6-0 at Rye, who's 7-0. This is the battle for the South League title. I mean, this is a big-time game. And when you look at historically, Rye is 7-0 versus Pelham since 2004. Last time they played was in the spring, where Rye won. Last week, Pelham won versus Tappan Zee. Rye won at Nyack. Let's start with Pelham, Mars. Not too long ago, in 2016, Mars, 5 years ago, Pelham had to go to the Independent League. Right, the program was in dire straits. And so when you look from 5 years ago till now, what a turnaround it's been. What a turnaround it's been. The last time they were 6-0 started the season 6-0 was in 2010. Right, so it's been 11 years. So what a turnaround, and a lot of credit has to go to the coaching staff and the program and the kids in the program to help this turnaround. And so this is the second small school, I think, in A. Right? I mean, you have to be impressed. But let's start offensively. Losing their running back and linebacker, Shelton, who's probably one of the best players in the class. I saw him in a sling. Again, I don't know what the injury is, but when you see anybody in a sling, it usually means that they're not going to be back for a while. And so I'm not sure if he's going to be back. That is a huge loss. But to me, I said this last week, and I'll say it again. If you're a championship contender team, if you want to be a team that competes in the playoffs and wins games in the playoffs, when you lose somebody, and there's no one replacing him, but when you lose someone that talented, you have to come together, and you have to now, everyone has to step up. It's got to be a group effort. And so to me, you got to rely on this offensive line to help lead that charge. And guys like Green, Zale, Toe, Pettis, they're going to have to step up and open up holes for whoever the running back is going to be. And to me, they like to rotate guys now with with Shelton not being there, at least last week, in their power running scheme. They like to run with physicality. And Teddy Johnson, last week, he had 103 yards rushing. He was big. Josiah Campbell, he had a rushing touchdown. Daniel Fredbeck, who actually, to me, is one of their most important players because he's a guy who can hurt you running the ball and as a receiver. So he is a guy who people need to watch out for. He had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown last week. And to me, the X factor of this team is their quarterback, Callum Reed, because he's an athletic guy who likes to throw on the run, who likes to buy time. And if he could be smart with the football and make some plays with his arm, throwing to guys like Mateo Johnson, that's where this offense could really take the next step. This offense like to run with power. They like to bring in the tight end, they like to be in gun, two back. You're going to see a lot of down blocking, some pulling. They like to pull guards and tackles. They want to control the game with the run. I think that's what they're going to have to do in this game versus Rye and try to win with physicality and win with some power running football and then take some deep shots. Right? The play action is going to be big, and their quarterback's going to have to buy some time because Rye likes to bring pressure. Defensively, Rye might be without one of their stars too. I haven't seen Caden Whaling play the last couple of weeks. Don't know his status. But whether he's playing or not, you're going to see some heavy run sets. And this is the number 2 defense, Mars, in A, behind Somers right now. And Rye front is not the biggest guy, but they are a scrappy group. And if Whaling is not there, the onus is going to go on their quarterback, Kovacs. So it's going to be big that they prevent the deep ball and prevent the quarterbacks rolling out in this game like Kovacs, because he is a dual threat guy who can really hurt you. They're going to have to rely on him if Whaling is not playing. But you're going to see a lot of heavy runs too. When I go to Rye, Mars, offensively, this is the number 2 offense. Again, don't know the status of Whaling. He's obviously extremely important. But if he's not playing, again, I say the same thing like I said about Pelham. If you're missing one of the best players, he's one of the best players in the section. Okay? If this is a championship level team, and they want to reach the championship and win the championship, everybody else has to step up. Everyone's got to rally around and step up for their injured player. And it's going to be a group effort. And again, it starts with that offensive line. And the guys who step up at the running back spot last week, Tommy Richardson, he had 142 yards and a touchdown. Luke Goldzer, who's been solid, he had 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. To me, the onus is going to go on the quarterback, Kovacs, because I don't think it's going to be easy running the football consistently versus Pelham's front. Last week, they didn't ask him to do a lot. He had 93 yards passing and a touchdown, but he's going to have to make plays with his arm and his legs and get the ball to guys like Bartlett, Barford, and Surhoff that can make plays in the passing game. He's going to have to be big in this one, Mars. Defensively, this unit has been pretty solid. I think they can continue to play well. Pelham has a physical rush attack. I think they're going to look to try to control the time of possession in this game. And Rye is not the biggest group, but they win with speed. And they like to stunt their linebackers. They like to create penetration. I mean, Surhoff had a sack last week. Swarak had a sack. Garnett, you know about him. He's a dominant player. McSweeney, if they could stop the run and force them to be a throwing football team and spread looks, that's when they can bring out the disguised coverages, the disguised blitzes, and they'll force some turnovers. I mean, McSweeney had an INT touchdown last week. That's what they want. They want to get you in those long down situations so they can bring out, the exotic looks. Marsh, what do you want to talk about this before we go to player and matchup?
I mean, this is definitely deserves to be a level of game of the week. I mean, obviously, win and your number one is definitely a drama-filled matchup, and I think that when you look
and
at
the loser's number 2.
yeah, I mean, it's really just so whoever's number 1 is is the winner here. And when you look at both these teams, I feel like they when you go from Rye, who is a prominent program who's been dominating in A for a while, like has been a top team, and then you go from Pelham, who's now one of the smallest teams in A, and they're one of those surprise units that show up. It's very interesting in my opinion. And when you look at Pelham, losing key players obviously is a big deal, but as a coach, you always tell your guys, when you lose a key player, it means opportunity for somebody else. And I feel like that's going to be the big thing, is who's going to be the guy that steps up and makes a play. And I feel like it's going to have to really start with the offensive line to really open the lanes for these guys, dominate the line of scrimmage. You're a bunch of big body. You're big enough, but you're scrappy. And I think that's the more important. You're always going to be in somebody's face. You're going to show aggression. And I think that's going to be important to allow your guys to make some plays in the open field. And obviously defensively, that's going to be where your key is going to be, because Pelham's defense is top notch, and I feel like they need to really step up big time, because you're going to see a lot of runs, right? And I think that you're going to need to slow down what Rye does best and slow down the run. And obviously, you don't know about Caden Wheeling. You don't know if he's going to be in this game, and I think that's what adds to the drama here. I think if Caden Wheeling is playing and he's healthy when he's playing, I think that this is going to be a tough game for the defense for Pelham. But if he's not playing, this gives you a chance, because you do have that scrappy defense, and it's going to be about containing the speed of Rye, because Rye has a lot of speed on this team, whether it's Caden Wheeling's playing or not. And if you can contain this speed, then I think you're going to have a chance to try to get your offense back on the field. And for Rye, like I said, that same question, Caden Wheeling, is he going to be playing or not? Yeah. But it's really not going to look at Kovacs. Is Kovacs going to step up big time? And if he does, then it gives your offense more ability to make plays on all different types of facets. Defensively, you got to show off your speed, send some stunts. Try to get in the backfield, cause some pressure, because they're going to try to use this big offensive line or scrappy offensive line to try to move you out of their way. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this game.
Yeah, to me, the player to watch is the quarterback Kovacs for Rye. I mean, I think there's going to be a big onus on him. I think Pelham's going to try to take away the run, and he's going to have to be big for them to win this game and win the league. The matchup, Mars, I also did a video breakdown on this week for the matchup, and I'm going to be looking at the Pelham physical offense versus the speed of Rye's defense, and that's going to be the big matchup, and we're going to let the audience see why. For this video, we're going to talk about the matchup between Pelham's physical offense and the speed of Rye's defense. I want to start with Pelham, and obviously when you lose one of your best players, you really have to rely on the team to come together and people to step up, and I think this offensive line has got to lead that charge, and they have been pretty solid all season long. And Pelham likes to run with physicality. They like to pull guards and tackles. They like to use down blocks to move the point of attack, and we're going to see an example right here. Right? These guys up front have done a really good job. They're going to run where they pull a guard. It's going to kick out the edge defender. The tackle's going to come underneath them, but the point of attack is going to be big. They got to move these guys out of the way. You're going to see they're going to try to get a double up to the linebacker. Because this guy's a gap over, he's going to go right to the linebacker. Smart play right here. Watch this center. He's He's got to go down a man and kick this guy out. Make sure he doesn't make this play backside. I mean, let's watch this guy's move. The line has done a really good job. You can see a body on a body. Look at them create a seal right here with that down block. Move the point of attack. Look at the kick out right here. Does a really good job. Again, look at the lineman. He's got his eyes downfield. He knows where he wants to go. When you get blocks like this, it makes any running back's job easier. Right? Really nice job right there. Look at the block downfield. And this is a really nice run. Again, you need people to step up. I love this right here. Thinking he's going to go out of bounds? No way. Right? They thought he was going to go out of bounds. He takes a big shot right there, breaks the tackle, and he's off to the races. Again, it all starts with up front, but everybody, look at everyone contributing right here. Everyone executing. That's great. Now that right there, I love that. Running with physicality. Running through contact. And again, we talk about running backs stepping up, but they also have, one of the more versatile players in the class in Daniel Fredbeck. And he's a guy who can line up at receiver, he can line up at quarterback, and you can run plays with him at both spots. And in this play, he's at the quarterback spot. He's going to do a quarterback sweep right here. Okay, but I want you to watch the line. Right, these guys have some solid size, but they can move their feet. And you can see these guys are going to cut off backside, but watch the center. He's got to go a man down. This guy is on the inside shoulder of the guard. He's got to move his feet and seal him off. And each one of these guys are going to try to seal the next defender over. So you're going to see the guard fighting his way to the outside. You can see this tackle helping on this edge defender up to the back, and this quarterback's going to take it. So let's watch it. Okay, look at them shoot out of their stance right here. Great job right here. Look at the guard fighting over. Look at the tackle helping. Now he could shoot this gap and get probably about 4 or 5 yards. But again, he shows good vision. He's going to bounce to the outside. He sees both his linemen out there. He sees the running back leading the way. Look at him bounce to the outside. Stiff arm, and look at this athleticism right there. I mean, that's a hurdle. He just jumps over a man for a score. That's awesome. The big question to me is this passing attack. And this passing attack has made some big plays, and they're going to have to continue to do that at a consistent level. And we're going to see an example of it. Their quarterback's an athletic kid who can throw well on the run. And they're going to run plays like this, I would imagine, versus Rye. And it's him rolling out to his right. You're going to get a motion here. He's just going to act as a safety valve in the flats. But you're going to get an out, and you're going to get a go route. And they want to hit some of these deep patterns to create some chunk plays. Again, when he's rolling to his right, when he's well protected, he can make these kind of throws. Look at this throw right here. Boom, that is big time. They're going to need a lot of that. Let's go to Rye. Again, Rye is not the biggest defense, but what they do is they win with speed. They cause a lot of penetration. And one guy I want to focus in on is this guy right here, Jack Garnett. He's one of the best players in the class. An explosive defender who causes a lot of havoc, and you have to be wary of him wherever he is on the field because he will move around. And you're going to see this is going to be a play-action pass. And he just shows the kind of ability that he can wreck a game for you. Right? This is play-action pass, and you're going to see it right here. Pretty well, they're going to do some bump and run right here. They stop it right away. But look, he's not even rushing. But watch the burst and speed that he shows. He can hit that gear in a hurry and get after the quarterback. He's not rushing right now. Look at him. Look at him explode right there. And now he's going to tackle, force a fumble, which leads to a defensive touchdown. I mean, he has that game-wrecking ability. But this defense as a whole has been solid. I would imagine you're going to see a lot of 7-man boxes, especially when Pelham comes into those heavy sets. And again, they like to move their linebackers around. They like to have their linebackers stunt. Their outside defenders come off the edge to create penetration, get you in second and third and medium and long. Right? And you're going to see they're going to try to run with some power right here. They think they have a size advantage, but you're going to see the linebacker sitting in the gap. He's going to stunt the gap. You're going to see this edge defender come up the field. They create penetration, and they swarm to the football. Watch this right here. Look at the penetration. Again, pretty good push right here, but these guys shoot the gap, create some penetration, and look at the backside. They're swarming to the ball. Right? Running back sees it. He tries to cut it back. But again, these guys swarm and they tackle well. Look at them rally right there. That's good stuff. Finally, when they get you in second, third, and long, that's where Rye wants you to be. Because then will come the exotic coverages. Then will come the stunts where they can get after the quarterback. And you're going to see whether you're in trips, whether you're in empty, whatever you come out in, Rye has an answer. And they like to bring those extra defenders. I mean, you're going to see this linebacker. He's going to be stunting inside. And these linebackers are savvy linebackers who know how to stunt and time things pretty well. Watch the timing on this one. I mean, that was perfect. One final time again. That's what they like to do. Create penetration. Get you into negative plays. And I'm interested to see the physicality of Pelham versus the speed of Rye. All right, Mars, let's go to the game picks. Again, the goal is to get over 75% by the season's end. And when we do our playoff show, we're going to do that. And before we get into the game picks, I did want to make an announcement I forgot in the beginning. Since this is the last regular season week, this is the last time that we're going to be picking the games on the show for non-playoff games. So we're going to be focusing on the playoffs after this week for 1A. We'll probably post our game picks for the non-playoff games when we post the show, but we're not going to be doing it on the show. So just wanted to let everyone know that because the focus is going to be on the playoffs. So let's get to the game picks since this is the last week, and we'll pick all the games. Walter Panis 0-6 at Mahopac, who's 4-2. This is a league game. Obviously, Mahopac needs to win to solidify a spot in the playoffs. Mahopac should win this game. I think they're home. They're playing an undersized Walter Panis team. But to me, and this is for all underdog teams, I just want to see fight. I mean, this is football. This is a great opportunity. Seniors' last chances to play. Young players, a big opportunity to make a statement. And a couple guys on Walter Panis that I kind of want to see in this matchup. McNeil, right? Again, going to Penn State to play football. Him versus the interior D-line of Mahopac, right? I want to see, this is to me, and as a competitor, and I'm sure McNeil feels the same, you want to play versus the best or the better players, right? And you want to dominate those kind of matchups. And this is, to me, an opportunity. I want to see how McNeil goes up against these guys and see kind of the hype with McNeil. And another guy, Carlucci. I think he's one of the more talented players. He's a young guy. This is going to go up against a defense that has been playing well. Now, again, I don't think they have the guns to beat Mahopac. Mahopac should win this, and their defense, Walter Panis, is the 16th defense, the last defense in A. I think Mahopac's going to run the football. I'm going Mahopac, but I just want to see, and this is for all the young teams who are underdogs, fight. Let's see some fight. Fight against these big teams. Maybe you pull off the upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mahopac as well. This, like you said, they shouldn't lose this game. They're easily favored, I think, in by us and by Low HUD. They have the size advantage, and I agree with you. I think that you want to see fight from those teams that are young.
Yeah.
Just to show some. Just to, you know what, you're gonna go out with a bang, right? Try to go for that win. Try to make the game competitive. So yeah, I'll go Mahopac. They should win here, but I want to see some fight.
Another team, Lords 3-4 at Yorktown, who's 2-4. Lords needs a victory to stay in the wild card hunt. Especially if John Jay loses, Brewster wins, and Mahopac wins. It makes things very interesting. To me, Lords' offense has been playing solid. I've been impressed with some of the young players they've had, some of the play on the offensive line, and guys like Kraus and Matthew and Salato and stuff like that running the football. The big concern I have is defensively, Mars. This is the 14th ranked defense out of 16 teams. They've given up way too many plays and points. And for Yorktown, injuries to some of their best players have been brutal this year. But this is another team I want to see fight. They had a tough loss last week, an opportunity to pull off an upset. They could not do it. This time around at home, I think they're going to play hard, and they should play hard. I'm going to go with Yorktown. I think Yorktown wins at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go Yorktown too. I'm actually, I think that their health might improve. Because I think one of their two of their top players were
they might
iffy.
They were iffy to come back last week. They both didn't.
And they don't.
Maybe one of them comes back.
Maybe they come back. And
yeah.
You know what? At the end of the day, it's like we said before. They're gonna. This is if they're knocked out of playoff contention. This is really just about playing football. Your senior year, try to get some last games in and try to end off on a positive note. And I think that that's what they're gonna try to do. And I agree with you. I think Lords' defense has been struggling too much, and I feel like Yorktown will take advantage of that.
Nyack 0-6 at Tappan Zee, who's 0-6. Both teams trying to get their first victory. Nyack's offense and defense, I feel, has been a little slightly more consistent. When I look at Tappan Zee, I like guys like Mooney and McCarthy, but they have the 15th ranked defense, Mars, and the 16th ranked offense. This is the last offense in points scored. And when I look at Nyack, they haven't been much better, but the offense is 15th in the league, and the defense is 13th. And because of that, I'm going to give Nyack the slight edge. I think they make a couple more plays on both sides of the ball. I'm going Nyack.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think Nyack, this game is going to be interesting and going to be close. I think Nyack's going to pull away. They just have a little bit more to win this game. I'm going Nyack.
This is a huge game. Harrison 3-3 at Eastchester, who's 3-3, Mars. I think the winner of this game is going to earn the second wild card spot in the playoffs. Both teams can run the football, different styles. The question to me is which defense can play with physicality, and I'm going to lean towards Harrison. I have actually thought the defense has played well enough the last couple weeks to give them a chance. Eastchester's defense just hasn't been consistent enough for me. I think both teams can run the football, but I think Harrison's defense is going to make enough plays in this one. I'm going Harrison.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think Harrison's defense is gives them the advantage for me. I think defense is going to be the really the key thing here that allows them to keep the game close, and their offense is going to wear them down over time. I'm going Harrison.
Clarkstown North 4-2 at Sleepy Hollow, who's 2-4. I will say this: Clarkstown North, they've clinched the third spot. Don't overlook Sleepy Hollow, because Sleepy Hollow is a team that has been playing better on both sides of the football, and I think they're a scrappy unit with some young guys who have continued to grow and some of the seniors who have played hard. But I do think Clarkstown North is going to win the physicality battle, and they're going to run the football and control the time of possession of the clock. And Eastchester was able to do that. They rushed for over 250 yards last week. I think Clarkstown North is going to take advantage of that. I think Clarkstown North wins this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think Clarkstown North just has the advantage when it comes to some of their size and some of their schemes. I think Sleepy Hollow's been playing better, but I just think North just has a little bit more. I'm going North here.
Somers 6-0 at Lakeland, who's 1-5. Again, this is tough for Lakeland. I do think Lakeland is a scrappy team. I don't think Lakeland is going to lie down, but I just think Somers has too much weapons, and this defense is just too ferocious. I think they're really going to get after the quarterback. I'm going Somers. They're going to go 7-0, finish the regular season perfect, and it's going to be a really nice accomplishment for the Somers program.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think Somers is just that top team right now in A. They have way too much for Lakeland to keep up with, and I think they're just on a roll offensively and defensively. I'm going to go Somers.
Brewster 4-2 at John Jay Cross River, who's 4-2. Huge game, Mars. This is one of the tougher ones to pick. Brewster, although they showed some nice balance and Donahue getting back into the groove, turnovers have hurt Brewster. I mean, against Mayapack last week, stop and drive. Turnovers scare me a little bit. I think John Jay Cross River is going to bounce back this week, and I think they're going to play with an attitude this time around. They got embarrassed last week, let's not kid ourselves, and I trust the coaching over there at John Jay, and these players are some scrappy players. I think at home, with a big opportunity in front of them to clinch the number 2 spot, and I feel they're getting a little disrespected this week, I'm going to go with John Jay this time.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think John Jay, I said this earlier in the show, I don't see a team play that bad 2 games in a row, and they're a talented team, right? The second-ranked team in their division, and I think that they're there for a reason, right? I think the Somers had their number. They had a really bad night, but I don't think it's going to happen again. I think they're going to be more efficient defensively. And you think of it this way: when the last time we saw John Jay struggle defensively, which was against what was Lords. The next week, they showed up big time, and they played a really tough game, right? And I think that's the same thing's going to happen. They got embarrassed. This week, they're going to play strong, and I think they're going to bounce back. I'm going John Jay here.
Let's go to the game of the week. Pelham 6-0 at Rye, who's 7-0. The battle for the league title in the number 1 spot. Loser is in the number 2 spot. Mars, who do you got and why?
Well, this is interesting because I said this earlier in the show that Rye has been that program that's dominated A, and then you look at Pelham, who's one of the smallest teams in A, and they're both literally at the same spot. The question is going to be who has the better game that day, and I'm going to go with Rye. I think that Pelham's defense, you have to applaud them for being so scrappy and so tough. I just think that when you look at Rye, they have more ways to beat you other than Caden Wheeling, and I think Caden Wheeling being there, that will be great. But the fact that we don't know if Caden Wheeling is going to play is still a big question mark. But at the same time, you look at Pelham's offense, they're losing some key players too. I just think that the Rye has a better supporting cast around Caden Wheeling compared to what Pelham has, and I think that's what gives them the advantage here. I'm going to go Rye.
I want to say this. Pelham, to me, feels like another team in A. If you look at all the playoff teams, the 2 most disrespected teams at this point is John Jay Cross River and Pelham. And I understand why people don't have a lot of respect, in quotes, for Pelham, because they're a small school. They don't have a history in A of being very dominant or competitive, right? And 5 years ago, they weren't even in Section 1 because they needed a rebuild. But to me, this team plays with a scrappiness. This team plays with a confidence. And this is the number 2 defense in A, and I think they're legit, the defense, right? And losing Shelton is a big loss. There is no replacing him, but I think there is some guys on this team that people are not giving enough respect for that can step in and make plays. But I am going to go with Rye as well. And I think Rye is a team that they're like the quietest 7-0 In the beginning of the season, everyone was talking about Rye, but because Somers has come on like gangbusters, Rye has kind of been an afterthought, right? And so I think it's good for Rye because now you don't want to see a Rye team under the radar, but this feels like an opportunity for Rye to win the league. And it's true, Whaling is another guy you can't replace, but I do think that Rye can hit a few more plays offensively, and defensively it's going to be tough versus a physical front, but I do think that they're going to bring some stunts and cross penetration. Guys like Garnett are going to have a big one. I'm going Rye. All right, everyone, that was our show. We appreciate you guys for tuning in like always. We hope you have a sports-filled weekend, and we'll see you all very soon.